Thank you for joining me on the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, AZ. I find the research and resources and then provide the fire service with the so what, now what, to ensure the health and well-being of every member of our profession. Together, let's thrive. Hello there, it's AZ. This is episode 198 of the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast, and today you're going to get to hear from, I thought it was second-time guest Maura Shea, but she is actually a three-time guest. I forgot we did a two-part originally way back when the podcast started. Mo is so kind and generous to be a guest on my podcast because it's just not her thing. She is the most eloquent and well-spoken person. She's amazing. She just hates doing it. And so thank you, Mo. Shout out. It was a great episode. I know you're going to enjoy it. Please do me a favor. Whatever podcast app you listen on, will you please go give me a 5-star rating and a review? I would appreciate it so much. Have a great day. Thanks. Good morning, Maura Shea. How are you today?
I am lovely. I just got off of a 72-hour shift, so my brain is 90% here. How are you?
Hey, 90% after 72 hours. I don't really think that I can do math right now, but that's incredible. And I'm great. I don't know if I'm that high of a percent. So it's fantastic. Listeners, we're just going to jump right in because Maura is a two-time guest. And so I'll link her original episode. It was almost 3 years ago now, the original episode.
That is wild to think about. I didn't realize that.
Isn't that wild? And a lot of things have changed, but I will link her original episode so that you can hear what she had to say. But I'm going to ask a really bad podcast host open-ended question. Mo, what has changed in these past 3 years?
Well, okay. The only reason I wasn't prepared for this is I didn't realize it had been 3 years. So largest change I think related to this would be I was a full-time tactical athletic trainer until June 6th of 2023 when I swore into a fire department as a full-time professional career fireman. So that has been my full-time career. I did not fully leave athletic training. I did what the HR director at the time called the weirdest title change form that she had done in her 2 decades of HR. And I went from a director of a tactical athletic training program to a PRN athletic trainer. So I pick up events here and there. I cover as needed in the athletic training facilities that I opened before. I did most recently a couple of soccer shifts. I did a high school shift. And so I'm still in the AT world. I'm still the executive director of the Public Safety Athletic Trainers Society, so still involved. But my primary career by all means is career firefighter.
It's incredible. And we're going to talk a lot about that today.
Okay.
But as always, I have questions. First of all, kudos on the weirdest title change in 20 years.
Thank you.
I'm all about being weird.
You never want to be a first for HR. So that was interesting.
Well, and what they say in the fire service, Mo, is you're not doing your job unless you have a rule named after you. So you kind of have to have that in the fire service with HR at least.
Right.
So let's first, before we go too far, because as I think all my listeners already know, I love the PSATs. I love the Public Safety Athletic Trainers Society. I am just renewed my membership. And
thank you.
It's one of my favorite, sort of niche conferences that I attend. But for the listeners that might be living under a rock and haven't heard me talk about it, what is PSATs?
All right. So as we already said, it is the Public Safety Athletic Trainers Society. Everything basically operates through our very beautiful looking website, which is psatsociety.com. And our mission spans a couple of things. Basically, we want to support athletic trainers that are already working as athletic trainers in public safety. So that's everything from injury prevention and wellness all the way through rehabilitation of catastrophic injury of police, fire, corrections. EMS is included in that. And then also we want to help athletic trainers trying to break into that setting because there aren't a ton of jobs. There are many more now than there were even 5 years ago that you see online to apply to. Not a lot of them though. Many people that are getting into it have to build their own job, build their own connections with a police or fire department. We also want to support police and fire departments that are looking to get an athletic trainer or a wellness program. So a lot of what we hit on is the education portion, one on how do we open one of these, but also for those of you already in it or looking to get better at it before you're even in it, a lot of inter and intra professional practice. So other athletic trainers talking about their experience, but a lot of people outside of athletic training, strength and conditioning coaches, registered dietitians, physicians, sleep specialists, giving all the information that you need to know because your patients will need it. And we do that through continuing education content. We have 2 different subscriptions. One is CEU, so continuing education unit subscription for $35 annually, covers the whole year. The other one is non-CEU for $20 a year. They give you access to all of the same stuff. But one is you can claim continuing ed units through the Board of Certification for Athletic Trainers. It's the only difference. So tons of content on there. We also have grants and scholarships available, 1 per quarter, so 4 for the entire year. And we are trying to give away free money. So please go onto our website and apply for one.
I love free money. So exciting.
Yeah, I would try our best to hand it out.
Lots of thoughts here before I'm probably going to go down a rabbit hole, but I'm going to try not to. First of all, I forgot to mention, Mo doesn't do podcasts. Like, she says
I do
no.
not.
So the first podcast she was ever on was my podcast. I think it was like episode 10, 11, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the second podcast she was ever on was my podcast. So thank you.
Yes. This is the 3rd podcast I've ever been on, this one. I don't see this
third
theme changing. I think we did 2 episodes. Yeah. So like
that's right. We cut it in half. You're correct.
I've only ever been on this podcast. I do not like listening to my own voice yap on podcasts.
So statistically, this is very significant.
Yeah, this is 100% of the podcasts I've been on right here.
100%. I want to dig for 1 second into the continuing education, first of all, because we partnered together. Mo called me, I don't know, like February. It was the best call ever. She's like, I have this kind of weird idea. What do you think about partnering together for the women's event that was coming up? And, how could PSAT sort of support that and give continuing education credits and then also use that information for our subscribers? And so in about 5 minutes, we figured it out. And now I think, are those getting trickled out like starting in November or something like that?
Starting in October.
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
Yep. So basically we were able to provide, PSATs was able to provide continuing education units for those that wanted to collect athletic training, continuing ed live at the conference, virtually or in person. We took the recording of that and we broke it into 4 pieces. And we are pushing that out to our subscribers October, November, December, January, because our annual conference falls in February. So instead of thinning the herd with manpower and trying to build more CEUs while planning that conference, which, as you know, takes a lot of brain power, a lot of hands, the editing is done on the front half since you gave it to us like in May, the day after it was done. So you've had from May until October to get it all edited, and it'll go out in those 4 months.
I'm really excited. So if you didn't get to attend the conference and you're a PSATs member, you still might get to see the recording. So Yay. Thanks for partnering with us.
Thank you so much for being open to it.
Hey, listen, when Maura Shea has an idea, the answer is yes. Pretty much yes. All right. So I want to dig into, because I have a feeling you already did a really good job of sort of job task analysis and all of that stuff when you were a civilian athletic trainer. I have a feeling you really dug deep into, what do my tactical athletes need from me? I'm just going to assume you did. You don't even have to say yes. But I want to know, what have you learned since you've actually been on the job, doing the job, the 72-hour shifts? Sounds horrible, by the way. That has your perspective changed at all? Is it the same? Tell me all of the things.
Okay, I will do my best to stay in a linear train of thought here. I do, just for clarity's sake, I work a true Kelly schedule. So 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, 4 days off. Basically, we went from a 48-hour rule where you can't work more than 48 in a row to a 96-hour rule. That is for people to fight about in the comments. That is not my decision. But I worked one of my in-between days, and that's how I just worked a 72-hour shift. That's not the norm of what we're scheduled. So with that said, a lot of things that I have learned. I don't even know where to begin. Maybe I'll start with this shift situation. I understand fully scientifically on paper, as firefighters, we are not great at eating well, sleeping well, fully taking care of ourselves, all of the things. There's some pretty simple checklist items because people will say to me all the time, like, Mo, you just worked 72 hours straight. That was a little bit insane. My boyfriend is also a firefighter, different department. They have a 48-hour rule, and his coworkers would be like, what do you mean you just worked on the ambulance for 3 out of 4 days? Something like that. So we have fire-based EMS at my department. And some simple things. One, pay attention to when you're going to bed. You cannot control how many times you get woken up overnight, but you can control when you go to bed. And I understand it's fun and everyone's outside smoking a cigar and you want to chat, but sometimes you just have to go tuck yourself in. Just go to bed. Because eventually then you become that toddler at 2 a.m. that you know what it looks like when a toddler is overtired and can no longer express their emotions or communicate and they're just whining. That is you as an adult instead, and you can't recognize it. So like, just go to bed. Take creatine. Obviously consult with your physician. I am not your medical provider, but it will absolutely help with the brain fog. I would be shocked if it didn't. Take it consistently. Even if you aren't working out that day, I do not care. It's not about the muscles. It's about your brain. Take creatine every single day, on or off work. I up my dose personally of creatine a little bit when I'm working multiple days in a row. So I take 4.5 to 5 every day normally, and I'll go more towards like the 6 to 7 if I'm working one of those longer stints. I don't care if you missed when you normally take it in the morning. It's not birth control, ladies and gentlemen. Take it. I forgot. And yesterday I took it at 10 p.m. with a cup of decaf tea because I forgot. And then food. We are eating so much food. Calm down. This is a wild amount. So I knew this before as an athletic trainer. Like I worked specifically in firehouses. I had a amazing setup. I was so privileged to have the access that I did, but I worked in firehouses full time, just not doing any fire activity. I was an athletic trainer. So I saw the portions, I saw all of that. And it's such a hard balance of, even when I'm the one cooking, like, one, you want everyone to be able to eat, but also you have to overcook, because if you make the exact amount you need, then you're laying up short. So we're making too much food already. That's fine. It's not, okay, I'm at a house with 12 people. This pan divided into 12 means this is my portion. No. Like, if you need to eat off of a salad plate versus a big plate and go back for seconds, do it. I understand that you have to eat quickly so that you can eat all of your food before a run comes out. No, you don't. Your food's probably going to be cold anyway, because half of it got done before the other half was done and they called dinner. So eat at a normal pace so you can actually listen to your body and decide when you're not hungry. And if you get a call in the middle, promise it'll be on the table when you get back. Maybe if they don't hate you, they put a paper towel over it for you. Eat a little slower. You're going to live, I promise. And you're not going to throw open your mask if you get a fire. So just things like that are like, it's not rocket science, and you're all intelligent enough to know this. We all hate rules for thee and not for me, right? So those rules are for you too. You consider them for someone else. You would consider them for your children. Do them for yourself as well. And with that said, I'm going to go with the last one is, if your high school kid was hanging out with a bunch of shit bags and they were getting in trouble, you'd be like, your attitude is different. It's the people you surround yourself with. Rules for thee and not for me. The rules for you too. Hang out with people that you want to be like. Hang out with people that have a good perspective. This is the greatest job in the entire world, and I can't imagine why someone wouldn't want to do it. And I'm so lucky to have been given the opportunity to do it. And at some point, you just have to sit back and go, am I the problem? Maybe I'm being a little too grouchy. Maybe it's time to go home. So that's my first chunk. I'll leave that there for you.
Okay, first of all, quote of the day, calm down. There's enough food.
Yeah.
It's gold.
So much food.
Absolute gold. No, you're right. There's always so much food. Also, I always say what is it? Different circus, same clowns. So you go to a different agency, and it's a different agency, but then you have those same personality types. So different circus, same clowns. And so I'm meeting the personality types now at a large agency in Oklahoma. And one of those stations taught me about scromlets. Now,
I have no idea what that is. Please share.
Right. And once he explained it, I'm like, oh, you mean a scrambler? And he's like, yeah, I guess. So a scromlet is basically, it's everything you would put in an omelet. So we talked about mushrooms and onions and little red peppers and diced up ham and all of that stuff. And then you pour the eggs over it and you scramble it rather than try to fold it together like an omelet. And so I'm like, okay, you're that guy, because I had that guy at my agency. I was that guy. I was the guy that made
that. Is a sewer lid. That's what we call
a what?
A sewer lid.
A sewer lid?
So,
sewer lid.
A sewer lid. Because most people would make it in like it doesn't, even if you make it on the griddle, you still call it that. But basically it's that. And a cast iron is like a manhole cover, basically.
Yes.
So we call it a sewer lid. Yep.
Oh my gosh. See? Different circus. Same clowns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I love that you talked about sleep. Also say no to sleep cancer. Are those stickers still going around?
Yeah. Oh, I hope so. I'm on a different agency now, but they are still on water bottles. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Say no to sleep cancer. I
like,
love
you
that
need to be less afraid of wearing your gear and more afraid of how sleep deprived you are. Don't actually be afraid, but like, calm down.
Everyone just needs to calm down.
Just
okay.
calm
I love
down.
that you brought up sleep. I love that you talked about creatine. That's yes, 100%. All right. I think I'm gonna try to help on this linear fashion, and I don't know if I'm gonna help or hurt the matrix. Can we go back to your academy experience? Was it like a state-run academy? Is it at your department? Just tell me about like how your eyes opened during your academy experience. Let's hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I applied to 2 departments at the same time. And the one I'm at now, the hiring process takes a little over a year if you're in their first class off the list. The other one was much quicker. So, and I know there are a lot of opinions about doing that. I will say as a little disclaimer, department 1 that I was hired at first, I told them in my interview process that I was in the other's interview process. They asked, if we give you a job, the other one offers you a job tomorrow, where are you going to go? Gave them a very good diplomatic interview answer, but did straight up tell them I would go to the other department. Still got hired. Stop yelling at me. So
stop. Calm down. Everyone just calm down.
Right, calm down. Don't tell your wives to calm down, but I'm telling you to calm down. So that first academy was like 5.5 weeks. So I'm going to talk specifically more about the 5 to 6 month academy that I did for this second department I'm currently on. There's just more experience through there. So that was a department specific process, department specific academy. We weren't combined with anyone else. It was run completely through the department itself. We did get to do some training at a county training center, but primarily we were at our department, our training center, all of our cadre. There you go. There's the easy answer to that. It was 5 days a week. We started in early January. We finished in mid to late June. Even if you had your certs, which was only a couple of us, it was Fire 1, Fire 2, Hazmat Awareness, Hazmat Ops. We did EMT also during that, even if you already had it, because the standard is a specific standard for that department. So they're going to make sure that everyone can practice to that standard.
And did you have, was there physical fitness training correlated to your academy most days or all days?
Yes, it was. Now, the days it wasn't scheduled was like we have a live burn that day and we have to get somewhere by 6:30 instead of being at PT by 6:30. But we did. We had a phenomenal peer fitness training coordinator who's a lieutenant on shift. And he had other peer fitness trainers that covered other shifts for him. So we met for PT. We started at 6:30 every day. So I know I always got there at 6 and we started at 6:30. And it went until 7:30. Sometimes it bled over a little bit, but it was a full hour. So there was strength training, there was cardio, there were circuits, there was all of the things. With that, we do have access at our department to an athletic trainer, and we do have access to a registered dietitian as well. They are wonderful. They were not super involved in the academy process. And I think that's just something that will change to be improved over time as everyone gets a better understanding of what is needed and what people's scope of practice and capabilities are. So I think there's room for growth there.
I love that you said strength training, cardio, all of the things. I love that because I feel like sometimes the academies get to be just a little bit too much words are hard, calisthenic and running based, and not enough. You know, we talk about like, we need our firefighters to be strong, but we're not doing anything truly to make them stronger. They're doing jumping jacks and push-ups and running. So I love that you said that. Is there a fair amount of equipment available at your academy?
Yeah. So the academy that I was in, and I will tell you why I'm separating that, we have access to a sports performance center through the contract we have with the athletic trainer and the dietitian. So the hospital that employs them has this performance center with a physical therapy clinic attached. And our PT physical training, not physical therapy, was there in the mornings. So we had a huge turf field, I don't know, 7 squat, right? Like the dream of what you could have, which of course we're firefighters, so we'll find something to whine about. But in the grand scheme of things, access to so much, so much. I separated that from other things because like right now we're going to run a lateral class. It's only going to be 6 weeks long, 4 weeks worth will have PT, and that part will happen at our training center. We'll have nowhere near the amount of equipment. We also have a different person in charge of Pure Fitness now, also incredible in the ideas that he has. So I think it will be awesome. It will look different than what ours looked like, but the class is going to look different. Why would we train recruits that maybe some of them have never worked out in their lives for 6 months the same way that we're going to train lateral transfers for 4 weeks? We shouldn't, right? So it shouldn't look the same. And he's well aware of that. So that we will be very equipment limited on.
Really, really smart. Rabbit hole. So sorry. You are the queen of building relationships. I don't know if I've told you this before, but you are. You are the queen. I have proclaimed you.
I did not know this. Okay, got it.
The crown is in the mail. But, and I know you didn't build, well, I'm assuming you didn't build that relationship with that hospital-based wellness center. Somebody built that relationship. If someone, a fire department, an agency, someone at an agency wanted to try to build a relationship with a facility like that, can you give us a few, what would Maura Shea do? WWMSD.
Yeah, so if you're going if you're going from the department perspective, approaching, I'm so used to getting like the hospital or healthcare provider, how do we approach the department? But if we reverse that, if you're the department trying to approach a provider, there's a couple of options here. So let's say you're like, our medical director is through our large hospital system in town, and we would like to talk to that hospital system about providing us an athletic trainer, or working with us. We can share resources. We'll pay for the athletic trainer, whatever. Talking, even if you need to get the resource from your medical director, and I only say that because that's the person you're very frequently in contact with, even if you need to go through them and say, who's your business development person at your hospital? Because this is another aspect of their business that they would be expanding on. At the end of the day, it's all business. Either you speak with business development, who's in charge of sports performance, or who's in charge of your physical therapy outreach. Outreach is the key word, because you don't want this person to be working at the hospital full time and trying to quote unquote treat your firefighters. You want this person immersed in some way with your firefighters. So who's your hospital outreach person, or your PRN outreach, or your PT outreach? You can go through business development, or if there's a specific athletic trainer that you would like this person to be part of, that you can contact that person directly and they can run it up their chain somewhere.
I look like the Blair Witch Trials right now. I'm really sorry. I have this little light. It's a USB light, and it died on me.
It's okay. I feel like we're having a slumber party right now.
We are. So those words that you just said, gold, key information for agencies trying to build a relationship with a performance center, with a physical therapy outreach clinic. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next question. I know you previously, I don't know this for sure, but I assume you previously had put on the gear, maybe done some burns just to get the idea of what the firefighters are going through. Extrication, I'm just guessing, knowing you. How did you feel about having all of that gear on for all of that time, doing all of those things, And was it enlightening for you in terms of maybe injury risk mitigation? The mic is yours.
Thank you. So yeah, I definitely had a put your money where your mouth is attitude as an athletic trainer. I always said, I will not ask a patient to do something that I'm not willing to do within reason. And my caveat was always like, if you're trying to return to marathons and I'm trying to ask you to go do a 7-mile run at some point in your progression, I don't want to do that. So I am going to ask you to do that, but I don't. That's the type of caveat I'm talking about. But that did include, okay, if you're going to ask me to do it, you need to do it. I'm going to put gear on. I'm going to wear a pack. I'm going to learn how to breathe through a mask. We're going to do those things together. And I had a lot of amazing opportunities. I'm so grateful for all those departments that were willing to take the time, the energy, the manpower to put me and put other athletic trainers that were within that program through those experiences, because I recognize now the planning and the manpower and the overtime and whatever else or the volunteer time that goes into that. Even just, are we allowed to burn today? Do we have enough Class A material? Like stuff that never would have occurred to my brain that I now know, like, this took a lot. And I appreciate that was demonstrating even more than I recognized that they were as bought in as I was. So yes, I had those things on, but there's a difference between, okay, we're bringing our athletic trainer out here and showing her what it's like to flow a 2.5 versus like recruit Mo is now on the nozzle of a 2.5. And the irony of the whole thing and of what you just asked is I got hurt during my academy. So I'm 4 weeks in, everyone in my class has a stomach virus.
Oh no.
Everyone. It's lovely. I do think that contributed to the fact that I got injured. Very long story short, I'm at the top of a flight of stairs. We're just advancing 1.75-inch hose line to the second story flowing. Like, that's all we are doing. I go to put my right hand down and my thumb goes the wrong direction, because as we all know, training towers get like that weird algae film. Unless you have one of those lovely metal grate floor training towers, we do not. So wood gets that film on it when you've been flown enough water, and my thumb went the wrong way and I tore off the bone what is called your UCL, so the main stabilizing ligament at the base of your thumb. And I was like, the irony of this situation is not lost on me. It is not. So as a typical recruit, terrible athletic trainer, I said nothing. And I thought, you know what? There's always the chance, like, my body is so worn down right now from being sick out every orifice it can be sick out of, that sometimes you roll your ankle and you're like, this feels like death right now, but the next morning it's like it never happened. I knew that wasn't the case, but I didn't know how bad it was going to be the next day. I was hoping it would be not as bad and this wouldn't really be an issue. I go home, I'm like, this is getting progressively worse. Like, I couldn't move it the rest of the day. We just kind of faked it till we made it. I get home, it's black. I am very pale. For anyone that doesn't know what I look like, I'm a very pale person. So that was a color that was not normal to be on my skin. And it was huge when I woke up in the morning. I couldn't move it. And I had to walk in and look at my training captain and be like, I have an injury I think you have to know about, because I couldn't hold my steering wheel. I couldn't hold my car keys. Like, my thumb was out of commission. So go through that work comp process, which I had fought for so many years, for so long, in other departments to change their work comp process for the better. Like, we shouldn't be going to a doc in a box who doesn't know how to do an orthopedic injury evaluation, because that's not their specialty. It's not that they're a bad doctor. That's not their job. That is going to wait a week no matter what to see if we need any further testing. Then we're going to get that testing. Then it's going to take a week and a half to get in. And then we're going to get to a specialist if we need to go to a specialist. And they're immediately going to recommend surgery and blah, blah, blah. I had spent so much time changing that other places that then going through it, I was like, I'm going to put my head through a wall. So I had an amazing training staff that did everything they could to progress that along. And I was very fortunate that at the end of that whole process, I don't want to get ahead of myself. At the end of that process, my training chief looked at me and said, you know what to do with injuries like this. You used to treat people in this exact situation. Don't make it worse. You tell us when you're done. And I understand that's probably not an opportunity that everyone would get. And that's not an opportunity that I would probably get a second time. But that is how I made it through that academy. So I could do everything except for turn my own bottle on and off. did everything else. I was splinted the whole time. I had a small splint for when I was in gear. When I was out of gear, I had a splint that covered my entire thumb, went all the way to my elbow. I mean, like, I had to sleep in it. I couldn't brush my own hair. I couldn't do anything with that hand when I wasn't in fire gear. It was very humbling because I'm used to being very capable and I'm used to working with my hands 100% of the time. That's how I've made my livelihood for my whole life, whether it's athletic training or fire. So that was an experience. But having all of the gear on, moving all of that weight, and I was very grateful to have an understanding of the body mechanics, because there are a lot of things that may take a lot more of my body than the guy next to me, right? Like, I'm a huge proponent for we should not have different standards for men and women in fire. You can do the job or you can't do the job. So it might look different when my buddy next to me, who's just like a farm dude who can move anything, you're like, hey, I need that whole wall moved. He's like, yeah, I'll just go pick it up. Like, that's not going to look the same for me. It's going to use a lot more of my legs that he can do with just his biceps. So it was taxing, definitely. In general, it is, but your body really acclimates to it. Like, the SAID principle, specific adaptation to imposed demand, so real. And I had experienced it before that, but not nearly to the extent that I have at this point.
Mo, I'm fixated on you couldn't brush your hair.
Oh God,
Mo
it's
has
bad.
the longest, like, curly, beautiful hair. What did you do?
Okay, so this was the most humbling experience of my life. My boyfriend's firehouse is like at the time where he was bid, it's like 5 minutes from our house. So if he was home, I would get home, I'd wash my hair, and I already had the tips and tricks for what I would tell people when they would get like shoulder surgery or any type of upper body surgery to be able to shower independently. Like, you buy a shampoo brush, you can do it with one hand, like all of those things. But then when it came to brushing my hair, that's where I couldn't do it on my own. And if Dave was home, then cool. If Dave was at the firehouse, I'd have to get home from academy, shower, drive to his firehouse, and he would stand in the parking lot brushing my hair, which you'd think he was like, oh my God, the guys are going to eat me alive for this. Every single one of those guys he was bid with had daughters, and they were just like, dude, my daughter's hair is 8 inches long, and this is a fight every single night. Like, good on you. I owe him forever for that, because I would have had to cut it off. Like, it would have been bad.
And 100% fine. Your thumb now? Fine?
Yeah, so I got to do my own thumb rehab. Our athletic trainer did a little bit of manual therapy on it, but he had a pretty full schedule. So I was in charge of my thumb rehab, and I had thankfully treated it in several other people a couple of times. They really wanted to operate on it. I said, I won't have a job. They said, great, we're going to put you in a hard cast up to your elbow. I said, also won't have a job. I am not doing that. So that is another lesson I have learned. I knew as an athletic trainer that firefighters, not because they're firefighters, but because it's the same in the civilian population, and firefighters are more stubborn, that we're not great advocates for ourselves. I do not think I would have been able to make it through those doctor's appointments and then make it through that academy if I was not capable of advocating for myself medically in those doctor's appointments. Not to my training staff, they were phenomenal, but those doctors wanted to cut my thumb open so badly. And I understand science-wise, I understand why. I understood the risk that I was taking. I understand that I was given a 5-pound lift restriction that I did not abide by whatsoever, but I had a job to do, and I wasn't going to give up that opportunity because my thumb hurt.
This is a great transition. We are terrible. I'm not going to put myself in that category, because I think I am a good advocate for myself on the doctor side. But from a population standpoint, we are terrible at advocating and communicating with medical staff. What's the solution?
I think it has to be a multi-part solution, because it's different for every person, right? So before we even talk about being injured as a firefighter, I want you to think about you as a human, just a person outside of the fire department. So non-work related injury, maybe a non-orthopedic injury, whatever it is. You go into the doctor's office, and I'm going to guess, and this isn't fair because it's a generalization, but I'm just going to guess, even if you go in with a specific goal, this is to assume that you even got yourself there. But we're there, or your partner called and said, I've had enough of the whining about this. You're going here on this day. And you go in with a specific goal. The doctor's not giving you a whole lot of their minutes. They ask if you have questions. Your brain had 50 questions walking into the room. Your brain is now empty, has no questions. The questions have left your brain. Where to, never to be found again until you leave and you go to drive home. You're like, damn, I should have asked these 19 things. Or you're given a treatment path. You're not comfortable with it. You're not comfortable telling them you're not comfortable with it. That means that you probably will not adhere to it. So we actually have done nothing productive. The only thing we've done is really dug down deeper into, I do not trust the medical system. I don't like it. I hate going to the doctor. You see it all the time in people outside of fire, but I definitely see it in people in fire. Having simple solutions, like when you have a question, write it down. Write all of your questions down. When you walk into the doctor's office and the doctor comes in, you can say, have it out. Not like it's tucked away in my wallet. It is out, unfolded on the table, because that is the conversation starter. The doctor will see that you have questions. They will answer those questions. Or they're on your phone and you tell them before you start discussing things to hold yourself accountable. Doc, I have a list of questions for you I want to ask you at the end. And they're already out. Like they're on your phone. The notes app is pulled up. And then take notes on the answers, because it can all make sense in the moment. And then you walk out and you're like, I remember 4 sentences that just happened in the last 20 minutes. It happens to me. I have gone to school for far too long and I'm asking questions about things I know very well about. And I leave and I'm like, what just occurred?
What just happened?
Take notes. Like there's no shame in that. This is your health and there is no one in the world that cares more about your health than you. So if you don't give a shit, it's not going to get fixed. And I'm not saying that that's right or that's fair. I'm just telling you that's reality. So 1, write your questions down. Simple thing. Write your questions down, take notes on the answers. Next, departments have to start formulating a process for support networks in that area. So like when I was an athletic trainer for fire departments, whether it was a work-related injury or not, I always gave patients the option, do you want me to come with you? Do you want me to be on the phone on speaker? Like I'm not going to interrupt while the doctor is speaking, but I know you well enough, knowing you for 2 years, to know that you're a very confident, well-spoken man. And when you start stuttering and can't get through a sentence anymore, you're like, I don't know what to ask you. I can start asking questions. We can do that. Also gathering your family's questions before you go, or their thoughts, really important, because just like we talked about when you're building a program, you have to give everyone the information their boss is going to ask for. If you go into the doctor's office and you don't know what your wife wants to know, and you come out and your wife asks you 6 questions and you didn't ask any of those questions, that's not going to go great for anyone. She's worried about you. You are frustrated because you didn't want to be at the doctor in the first place. So anyway, some sort of support system where there's someone that can go with you. There's a basic form of like, here's what we want to know as a department, and here's what we suggest you ask for you. You don't have to tell us the answers for this. And then getting people we refer to that have some semblance of an idea of what we do for a living would be incredibly helpful. And that's going to take either the person in charge of wellness or your admin, someone with a passion for it, calling around and finding out who those people are. And they might not be the people that you're currently referring to for work comp.
I remember so specifically when I had my hip surgery and I was in physical therapy, and the therapist said, can you get for me your job description from work so that I know what you need to do? And I said, we don't have one of those. And she's like, well, you have to. It's like a federal law. And I'm like, but we don't have one of those. So here I am trying to build it out for myself. I need to be able to step up onto a, whatever it is, 25-inch step. I need to. That was frustrating as a patient.
Absolutely.
Having an advocate in the department is huge. I didn't even think about that aspect of it. Like, it would be great to have an athletic trainer who could evaluate me and treat me, but also be my advocate with other healthcare professionals. Love.
Right. And it's not that every healthcare professional, you don't necessarily need in some cases you need an advocate because that healthcare professional doesn't understand your job. in a lot of cases, I would like to say the majority because I'm trying to be generous. Majority of cases, those healthcare professionals are aware they don't know, but they don't have access to the information. So just like your experience, you had a physical therapist who was interested in getting you to return specifically to firefighting, doesn't have access to that info, but then there's no one on the other side to provide it. So it's not always a malicious, well, you're good enough to walk, so you can go back to a desk job. You might as well go back to being a firefighter. Sometimes it's just a lack of understanding. And it takes someone going through that process. Just like when you end up changing a work comp system, it took someone getting a rule named after them. It took someone having a terrible time through work comp to get that changed.
Okay. Wow. I love that. Okay. So we talked about current. Mo just got off a 72-hour shift. We talked about Mo going through the academy and breaking her stuff.
I did.
And then I think let's talk about in between. How was the transition from being a recruit in the academy to being a rookie to where you are now?
Yeah. So I spent, because of that department transition, I think I had 30 hours off between departments, from like walking out of one to sitting in my first day recruit class of the other, and by my own doing, right? So if you want to count that as a break, count that as whatever you want, but 9 p.m. one day to 6 a.m., whatever the Monday was not exactly a break. But I was either in an academy or working as a probie on the street for a total of 2 years and 9 days straight between those two departments. And it was definitely a grind, because I would like to say, and the advice I give to new probies is like, no one's expectations of me will ever be higher than my expectations of myself. And that, I would like to think, helps carry you through. If you have 4 houses and 3 shifts at your fire department, then you probably say we have 12 different fire departments working on our fire department, right? So we have a couple more than that. There are going to be some shifts with very high expectations, some crews with very, very low expectations that are going to chastise you for doing a lot because it doesn't make them look great, right? But if you just produce quality work consistently, you don't have to change who you are around different crews. You don't have to try harder or less hard. Like, just do your best every time, do your job. Never let someone else's standard of you be higher than yours, because your standard for yourself should be incredibly high. And if it is, then you will be successful. It takes a lot of communication at home, I think, right? Like, whoever your family is, whether you have a partner, whether it's still your parents, whether you have kids, whether it's your dog, I don't know, your time in academy and probie year absolutely has an effect on them. So making sure that even though you're tired doesn't mean you don't have to ask about their day. Like, they're still your people. That has to take up some of your brain space. So there are a couple of things I kind of live by. One of them is your perspective is your reality. And if you know me, then you've heard me say this a lot, and you're probably laughing at me right now, but it is so true. It is true whether we're talking about work or home, or it doesn't matter. If your perspective is this sucks, this is the worst, I promise you it will. And if your perspective is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do the best I absolutely can, even though I don't like the crew I'm about to walk in and work with, your day is going to be a lot better than you expected it to be. It will. And with that said, any career field, I personally believe every place has their shit, but what shit are you willing to tolerate? So I get it. You can be at a quote unquote terrible department. You can be at a whatever your version of an amazing department is, and there will be something to whine about. You can be working in the corporate world, one hospital to the next. You can be working at, I don't know, 2 different stock companies. They're all going to have their shit. What shit are you willing to tolerate? And take a step back every once in a while and think, like, is the stuff that I feel like I'm tolerating actually what someone else is hoping for? Like, how privileged am I really in this moment? And I can tell you that I am incredibly privileged in the department that I work at. The intention to do good is always there. And I think from the people on the street and from the administration for the guys on the street, I'm sure that there will be people in my department that disagree with that. But I have also worked, it was a great learning opportunity. I have worked as an athletic trainer in a city that did not care about its people at all. And so I know what that looks like. And so sometimes there are complaints about things going on. And one, because I'm new, just sit down at the table. But also, I'm like, this isn't a real problem. This is a champagne problem. This is a problem because we have the time to complain about these things, because we have solved all of these other problems. Our problem isn't pay. Our problem isn't this, like all of these things. If our biggest problem is this minute thing, isn't that almost something to be celebrated? And that's not to say we're somewhere perfect, but even if you think that even if there are huge problems at your department, there is something to take off your plate about worrying. There's something that you are complaining about that really doesn't matter. Focus on the stuff that really does matter, because if you can all team up and work on that, you will find a solution.
It's interesting that you brought that up. I've been listening to an audiobook, Mel Robbins, it's called Let Them. And I'm not like super enamored with the book. I like the concept, but I'm not super enamored with the book. But one of the things she talks about, well, the big premise is if a lot of things that we worry about are not our worries. So we make ourselves unhappy worrying about whether our son's shoes match his tux for prom. Like, if that's what he wants to wear, let him. Like, it's not your deal. And then the second part of it is like, once you get the let them in place, then the let me, like, what am I going to do about it? And so she talks about that with respect to jobs. And so if you're pissed off that you're not getting promoted, or you're pissed off because you weren't picked to be the Chiefs driver or whatever, like, let them pick that other person. Let the other person get promoted. But then let me, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to change jobs? Am I going to change my attitude? Am I going to change my training? What am I going to do about it to make the outcome different in the future? I thought that's pretty genius. It fits in the fire service really well. Really well.
Absolutely. If all you are willing to do about the problem that you're very upset about is sit at the kitchen table and bitch, then you're not willing to do anything to solve the problem. So if as long as you're aware, right, like, I am doing nothing productive by having this conversation. This is not a conversation to now spark something else. As long as you're aware, sit there and bitch, do your thing, have your time, vent it out. Sometimes we got to get it out. But someone has to lift a finger eventually if you actually want it to change. If you don't care if it changes and you just want to complain about it, it can't be that bad. It can't. And I understand that I have not been around the block for long enough to understand some of these issues, because there are guys going, well, we tried this 10 years ago, it didn't work. Well, we tried this 5 years ago, it didn't work. And so it's hard to then have the motivation as those same people to do it again. Or those same people are looking at the younger guys who weren't there for that shutdown of that solution. And they're going, no, we already tried that. Have fun wasting your time, because we did it and it didn't work. I recognize I have not been around the block. On the athletic training side, same shit. What should are you willing to tolerate? I had issues with the same type of theory behind it. Like, this was an issue 5 years ago. It was not solved, whatever. All the things brought up the same thing in directors meetings over and over and over. It took until the month after I left, after I had submitted these standing orders 6 months before, finally got done. Didn't affect me, but it happened. So if you are wanting something changed, just, I think having a basic, you're intelligent people. You know that if you want something to change, sitting and complaining about it will not change it. It won't. Sit and complain if you want, but then do something about it. What's the productive part? Where are we getting, because we understood that we're all on the same page about being unhappy about this, how do we make this different? And if you're not willing to be part of that solution, then I don't really want to hear you complaining about the problem.
We have 3 minutes to bitch about the problem. Then we're going to transition to solutions.
Yeah.
Or
absolutely.
we're going to stop talking about it.
Yeah. Then we can bitch about something different and solve that one instead. Yeah. There you go.
Right.
So, but I do think that I knew about all of that coming in, but it is different being in a firehouse for 10 hours an athletic trainer or 24 hours or 72 hours as a firefighter. So you definitely see more of that, all of the different personalities. And I am so grateful to be able to say there isn't, all the crews are very different, but there isn't a crew that I hate working with, which is wonderful. Makes picking up overtime a lot easier too. But, and who knows, that'll change. Maybe that'll change. I've been at this department just for a couple of years, but I have also learned that being a senior man can mean a lot of different things. And whether it's, maybe there's a senior guy in EMS that's been on your department for 4 years, but he's got 10 years in the field. Maybe there's a senior guy that's backstepped an engine or a ladder for 30 years and they're a senior man. Like the relationships that you make, this is the Pro B perspective, right? What I learned, making those relationships with senior guys is absolutely critical, I think, to your success as a probationary firefighter or a rookie, because you have dumb questions and you have a lot of egos around you and you have a lot of opinions about a lot of things. And that's, I'm sure I'm talking about every fire department in the country right now when I say that, but getting the right senior guy to be someone willing to field your question will infinitely help you, I think, for the rest of your career, whether it's something that's happening, a job related task or a personal thing where you're like, how do I deal with this situation in the firehouse? How do I deal with blank? And as a female in the fire service, this even included men, senior men, and me being like, hey, what do you think about this situation? As a senior guy in a firehouse, what if there's a weird, like, is someone going to be weird about me being here because I'm a woman? Is it like, I care about your opinion. Tell me honestly. And those guys that are willing to shoot it to you straight will change your perspective, but will change your entire experience, I think, for the better. So.
Well, I'm going to ask you this because we have to spill tea. We have to get off of this recording because we have to spill tea. But is there a topic we should have talked about that I kind of glossed over? Is there anything that you wanted to share that I didn't ask you about?
Oh my goodness, what a question.
I know that's a kind of a rude question.
No, not rude at all. I think, so a question that I have gotten a lot, I went to school for a very long time for something not fire related to end up, here's the joke, and I hope that no one takes offense to this. I went to school for long enough to get a doctorate to end up fighting for a job I needed a GED for. Like, objectively, it's hilarious. I can't lie. It is very funny.
Same.
So I get from all other professions, sometimes my own, a lot of questions about, like, one, do you regret that transition? Two, what was that like? Like, was it a scary process? Like, how do you make that happen? Like, take that jump. And I was 28 when I swore into my first department. I think I turned 29 by the time academy was done. So made it in the pension at 28, but just barely. And that I would address only from the sense of, I get it from all over the place. And I have absolutely no regrets in my career change. I had set myself up well to be able to do it in terms of, like, I didn't take $300,000 in student loans. I was just really, really poor for a couple of years. I don't know that I ate protein for 2 years. Like, I ate a lot of noodles, but I recognize that everyone's going to be coming from that area where they might have a lot of student loans and they might be trying to figure that out if they're coming from a different career path over. So here's the deal. Whether you're looking at a restart and all of that comes with it, and you might have kids that you're supporting and stuff like that, I will pose this to you. If you are not happy in what you are doing, are you going to be the human you want to be if you're doing that thing for 30 more years? Probably not. Just like we have all worked with the fireman who clearly doesn't want to be there anymore. And you're like, can we pay you to leave? Like, you're awful to be around. Like, right. We can tell, whether you think we can tell you don't want to be here or not, we know you don't want to be here, bud. Like, please go. I've also had a lot of really young people ask, like, what would be an appropriate job for me to get first before, as I'm trying to apply, or that kind of thing. And I had someone ask me at an open house once, they were 18, you can't apply to this department until you're 21. And they said, would it be really bad if I worked construction first for a couple years? And I like kind of laughed at first, not on purpose, just as like a reflex. And I was like, that would be phenomenal. Like
The best.
you're going to get all of those skills that I absolutely would have loved to have had coming into this. Like you're going to be so proficient in building construction and I mean, using a chainsaw, all of the things that I had a better understanding than some, but because I had worked with my hands, I worked in a firehouse, but someone coming from an accounting job over to firefighting is not impossible, but like go work that trade, go do those things. Those things are dying. There's in every fire department, if you put all the trades together, you could build a city if everyone works together. There's a plumber, there's an electrician, there's a building construction guy, there's a guy that does tile, there's all of those people. Everyone has a role. And I understand now we're switching a little bit. We have like guys that were accountants. I was a very educated athletic trainer. We have there were teachers, there were all types of people, nurses. Go do something that in some way will enhance your experience in life. Get some life experience. I think the best thing that I had under my belt was not the fact that I was educated in body mechanics. The best thing I had under my belt was that I was 28 years old and I had a little bit of life behind me. So everyone has their place. You'll find yours.
There's a gentleman in my department where I retired. He worked his very last shift on the medic with me. He got promoted to lieutenant, then to captain. And then when I retired, he was my battalion chief. But before he started on the department, he was a garbage man. And he was every day so grateful for the job because he's like, I used to sling garbage. This is the best job in the world.
Yeah. And I bet in terms of job transference, I bet he was strong as shit.
Yes. Not
and
a big
knew
guy.
How to work.
Strong.
Yeah. Probably knew how to work until the job was done, not work until he was tired.
Yep.
So.
Well, episode 3 with Dr. Maura Shea. Maybe give me a couple more years. I'll get you on again. I have enjoyed this conversation so much and I appreciate your time. And I'm going to put in the show notes the Public Safety Athletic Trainers Society, the website, and information about that because like I'm not an athletic trainer and I think it's my jam. So I'll put that in there. And I think
we appreciate you.
Yeah. I love you guys. Can we drop the mic, I think?
I think so.
All right. It's been AZ and Dr. Maura Shea, and we are officially out.